look at TV and they see these guys playing Major League Ball. You know the path there. You know, they didn't wake up there, you know? There's a lot of stars that got to align to be there, and there's a lot of sacrifice that, like, you got to make sure you want this, right? This isn't the only path in life. Like, so, like, there's a big thing here between, I think, happiness, like real, just genuine
joy.
I'm a happy human being. You know, I'm a happy parent, I'm a happy child. Happiness and chasing, you know, what matters, what doesn't matter versus, yo, the result of baseball is driving my happiness. Yo, that'll drive you insane. You know, so like, I think there's like fundamental, deep, basic things that like, yo, let's establish these things. You know, but let's do it now, at this age.
And the game is already kind of doing that for you, and then you have all these resources, right, that are implementing that. You know, like you said, by design.
Yeah, by design, and it's crazy.
I mean,
so
I'll give you an example, and I highly encourage this, and I'm sure Carlos wants you to do this. If you're a little league coach, from a basic fundamental, you know, our kids, they're learning to breathe at the bat.
Oh God, no, now we'll get into the good stuff, right?
Right, so I mean, what do you mean? Well, I'm not concerned about my kid hitting the ball yet. I'm more concerned about what his plate presence is gonna be.
Yeah.
Can he breathe? Can he quiet the noise? The hitting part is gonna happen with work.
So yeah, so now we get into the good stuff, right? So like, number one is establish a love for this thing, all right? And that takes a little bit of time, and you gotta be extremely patient, right? So let's get into the evolution of it, right? As guys who've read the book, and now we're going backwards, right? It's like you have the cheat sheet, all right? We're talking development of, you know, youth development. Okay, what can I guarantee as a coach or as a coach? What can I guarantee that I can do right by development? All right, and in my opinion, I am 100% responsible for two things: your mind as a player and your heart. So the way you process, the way you visualize, the way you view the game is all based on what's gonna come out from us as coaches to you, whatever we're gonna transfer over. Your physical ability is in God's hands. Okay, timing is different for everyone, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions out here, and one of the spots where kids get lost in the shuffle, kids get given up on early. Timing of physical development, all right? In my opinion, if you keep the mind right and you give the mind of the athlete A+, mental skill sets, and mental skill sets can be taught, which is what we're gonna go now, right? Mental skills can be taught. So like, let's take the game and work it backwards, right? Our era, we got passed on physical. Like our physical took us to wherever we took. And then you get there and you're learning the mental there. Where like, yo, wait.
You're almost a day late in the doctor.
Yeah, but it's like, wait a second. Why am I learning the mental there? Mental doesn't require physical ability or physical talent. Mental can be taught now on the front end. So let's give you the mental on the front end. You know, get your head right on the front and let your body catch up to that. And when the two, I think if you keep those, if you work it like, yo, I'm gonna work your mind and I'm gonna give you elite thought process and keep your heart intact and let the physical come meet that. When they meet, that's where I think, yo, like real, like, hey, now you can take off. Now you can fly. But I think if you damage the heart early, you know, damage the want early, the desire to do this early, and you damage thought process early on, that's where you get an implosion on the back end.
It's like damaged goods, right?
Yeah. What are you working with?
And you know, the game of baseball is so mental.
Yeah.
And taking it back to the podcast, you know, Transition Life After Sports, is one of the things is like, the game is preparing you for life because you're gonna have dark moments in your life. You're gonna run into, these kids are gonna have their challenge. Even as parents, it sucks because, man, you don't want your kid to face a challenge, but like you said, it's guaranteed. At some point, there will be a challenge, an emotional challenge. And I think that the kids adopting this and understanding emotional intelligence from a young age is such an advantage to what their life is going to look like, because they're not going to overreact. They're going to have well-balanced mindsets. They're going to understand how to handle failure, stress.
Yeah, so it's hard to quantify a lot of this, and it's hard to understand some of this for guys who are not actively in it, but like the environment that these kids, the options they have now are difficult because, so like we're doing this thing, right? And we're teaching thought process, right? We're teaching how to handle failure, and we're just so committed to process over result. And it's because the environment that youth sports or youth baseball has gotten into, so again, this is my opinion, the result, and I'm talking about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, the result, the W or the L of the game. Man, it's hard for me to give that weight right now, because think about it, the way these leagues operate now. Okay, back when we played, you show up to the park, the kids get rated, there's a draft, teams are drafted, right? So like the team you play on, the team I play on, we're pretty as far as the fairness of the game and showing up to the park and having an opportunity to get a W, it's about equal, right? So yeah, there, in that situation, I give weight to the W and the L. The result is the result. Same thing in let's say elite tournament play, because now we got a handpicked team against a handpicked team and whatever. But in regular season play, it's hard, and this is the space that's just, you got to know what you're looking at. You got to know what you're watching, because you get these situations now where you come to a park, you came with your team, I came with my team, right? You might have come here with a group of friends that you're trying to teach them how to play. I might come up here with a hand-picked group of monsters at this age. And if my motives are strictly result-based and I'm getting the result, it's masking everything, So I think there's a lot to be said about
that is what I consider an artificial market, and it's actually a recipe for disaster.
It is. Everything is a microwave meal.
And the reason why I say that is because for you parents that have kids that love this game, first and foremost, I can tell you right now that the minute that your son or daughter walks into high school, the high school coach is never going to ask how many games you won in your travel team. They don't care. You're going to have to earn yours. Number one. Number two, high school coaches that actually know what they're doing are going to look at a kid's character. They're gonna look at whether a kid is a team player. Does he care? Obviously, they're gonna look at his ability to play the game. But it's just more than just, my son plays in this travel team and we're number one in the nation. If I had $1 for everybody who tells me, my travel team is the number one team in the country, I'm like, who's rating this, dude?
No, it's hard.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard, and there's
it's artificial. It doesn't even make sense.
No, and there's a level there where it's difficult, man. And there's no right and wrong. We started this by saying there's no right and wrong path. There's just different paths. The flaw I see there is you never even really exposing yourself to failure.
If you're winning championships every week.
No, right. And I think being exposed to failure young and learning how to handle it, there's a lot to be said. Learning how to fight for a position or. Damn, I got to push past that. So, but the system, in all fairness, the system doesn't lend itself anymore.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody keeps saying that. You're a father and you're a parent.
Yeah.
Forget the system. You get to dictate your system.
So in comes us, in comes us, and I think it's hard to. If you don't know,
everybody's jumping off a balcony. It doesn't mean I'm jumping off a balcony.
No. And you got to be okay with it. So in comes us, and I think we found this little space to operate in. Where it's crazy. So the kids and I've become super passionate about it because you can shape the way they think. Their outlook on performance, and to me this is mind blowing. We've been able to teach process. And why do we focus on process in this game? I mean, you know, and I know, like, there's only a set amount of things that are controllable, you know, and you're either really good at those things or you're not. And there's no masking, like yo, if you lost, you lost. Like, you got beat. Cool. Now, but where was the breakdown? Did we break down on our process? Did we break down on the things, on our controllables? Or did we get everything right? You know, like we might have shown up and done everything right. Hey.
And I'll keep it as fundamental and as practical. And again, because I always tie the podcast to the point to life, right? Is one of the things that I love that you've taught the kids is from the minute they get out of the car, they're carrying their bags. They walk into a dugout, they know they have to hang their bag. Then they go to the right field line or left field line, wherever they're going to warm up, and their gloves are in order. You've demanded that the parents do their best to take their kids and be there on time, right? To me, that's like, if my kid knows that practice is at 8 in the morning, and he's there by 7:45, I like the odds of my son having a job interview 20 years down the road and being there 15 minutes prior to and being prepared. And you teaching them control what you can control. You can't control the results, right? It's like, we talk about all the time. We tell the kids, hey, you can stroke a baseball and the guy makes a diving catch, and the next day it looks like you were over.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the frustration in this game comes, you know, and to be able, like, this is like a living experiment, no? Like, again, we're reading the book backwards.
Yeah.
Like, what matters? What does it matter? What matters is, you know, and like you said, we're responsible for your head and your heart. If I can get you to understand, like, what success in this game is, because the amount of failure is through the roof, and the amount of failure at the youth level is magnify it. Because now, you know, we're not playing in a fair environment where teams are like equally matched, and we're not in that. So like, you're almost asking more of these kids, you know, from a mindset, from the parents, from the, you know, who's around them. Like, I'm asking you to believe that, like, look and watch every little thing in this game that matters, and are they doing those things right? You know, so here we go, right? Let's talk hitting, right? And what do we teach in hitting? Hitting, we teach breathing. We teach breathing. So, you know, why? Why do we keep hitting as simple as our obsession is everything you do prior to getting it, you know, once you're in the box, pre-pitch. Everything you do pre-pitch, from your dugout to the walk to how you get in, how you breathe, how you visualize, that can all be taught. And not only can it all be taught, it can be perfect 10 out of 10 times, which perfection in this game doesn't exist. But if I can get you to understand, man, there's so much stuff that it just requires focus and discipline that can be perfect. You know, let's drill those things. Now, you get into the swing and the mechanics of the swing. Okay, I'll talk mechanics and swing mechanics all day long, right? But there's priorities to this stuff, right? The priorities is, I need you to be free here, right? So if I'm gonna create freedom here, I can't come and nitpick, you know, your launch angle, you're this, you're that, blah, blah. At the age of 7, I need you to free swing for a little while. For a little while.
I don't necessarily know that you can actually get better physically if you're not better mentally.
Yeah, and it's just order of operations, right? So we almost learn how to hit backwards. Like, we learn swing path, get to the ball, get through the ball, all that stuff. And then later we learned, you got a dose of like, man, how do I handle getting into my at-bat? How do I handle my thought processes when I'm there? Yo, that can be taught now. Yeah. So like, we're you know, like our order of operations, like, all right, let's teach that. Let's teach how to breathe in a batter's box. How to breathe in a batter's box.
And to see the kids do that is amazing, because like, I've seen it, and all our kids, you know, they'll realize I have 2 strikes or before that, and you see them take that deep breath, and it's like, okay, all that noise is gone. And they're learning that, and they're gonna take that into life. They're gonna take that into
any uncomfortable
into their test in the classroom when there's a lot of doubt and uncertainty. Okay, hold on. I've prepared. I've studied for this exam. I'm gonna take a deep breath, and I'm gonna play my game now. And again, hitting is so mental. Baseball's so mental.
So it's like, right? We talk with the boys, and look. Before we talk about your at bat, let's talk about your plate presence. No, we identify, or we term it out as plate presence, and we've been able to deliver this message because I think they're almost brainwashed at this point. Like, hey, explain to me, talk to me about hitting. You know, you got 6-year-olds telling you, hey, what matters, the most important thing is my plate presence. That my mind is clear. They'll tell you, right? Clear mind, vision, and breathing. If we're not doing those 3 things, let's not talk about the swing. You know, these 3 things, man, if you got that right, it's powerful. It's powerful stuff. That will free you up to like do everything else. And then I don't think people understand our obsession on how we teach breathing. Breathing is probably the biggest thing we work on as a group. And to do that, we run, and we run a lot. And our version of running with these kids, right? So you got fall in love with the game, you got now we're attacking, we established that, now we're attacking the mind and the heart, right? The mind, the heart, breathing. So we get into the physicality of just being healthy, running. So in order to teach breathing, we run. How many kids do you think we have here if you come look at like, you think these kids want to run the runs we run? We got a group of 7-year-olds that go out and kick a 2.5-mile run. Okay, I would have told you we're nuts doing this, but we identified certain things and they know certain things. First of all, is the running ever punishment? No. Never. I think the worst thing you can do, again, having read the book backwards, is use running to instill fear. I want the opposite for our group. I want minds and bodies that can overcome what someone's gonna throw at me down the road as like a tool for fear. No, let's fall in love with running. I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you're...
We're running with a purpose.
We're running with a purpose. So the reason behind the running, you know, is to get them mentally strong enough to overcome the running, but we empower them. We run with them. Yeah, I'm in it with you. You know, they know it ain't punishment. I'm in it with you. And then throughout those runs, we tackle breathing. Right? So like, here's the other thing where I think as having read this book and going backwards is like, you gotta be honest, dude. Like I gotta identify body types. What you can do and where your limitations are. Not what you can't, you're gonna grow. But man, if you got X body type and you got X body type, you know, you may not be capable of the things that come natural to him. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think one of the good things we've done is identify body type. And when we go out on these, you know, for the little kids, it's 2.5 miles. For the big kids, it's 3.5 miles, sometimes 4. You know, we put them where they belong. You know, we run by, hey, you're in this pace group, you're in this pace group. So they're in a spot where like, yo, I know I'm gonna get uncomfortable, but I know that I can do this. And I know that it's with a healthy purpose. And we just crush the breathing, right? So we'll get out on a 4-1 run, and we work on, all right, let's get their heart rates up. Then we go on that little 1-minute cool down, but that 1-minute cool down, we start getting in the batter's box and working on breathing. Mm-hmm. You know, and you're teaching them, right? In the middle of the run, right? Let's like, all right, I'm gonna get your heart rate up. So I'm gonna teach you how to get your heart rate up, how to stop, compose yourself through breathing, get your heart rate back under control. Right? Then we're gonna go do it again and again. And then I'm gonna teach you, hey, let's get uncomfortable. Let's get to the point where like you start questioning, I wanna tap out. But know that, hey, I'm in this with you. Like, let's do this together. You know, that's very different from this adversarial relationship with a 7-year-old, you know, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old of like, you know, there's this, I think, false sense of like, hey, I'm gonna put you in hell week, I'm gonna torture you, and that's good for you, and that's healthy for you. It's not. You know, instead, hey, we're gonna do it together. Now, we're blessed that we have, you know, it's not a coincidence, all the guys around these kids are somewhat take care of themselves, or healthy or fit families.
And not only is it healthy,
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is underestimated when you use, the word fun or love or athletes are competitors by nature. It's in your blood. And these
kids, as they get bigger, they get faster, they get stronger, they're exposed to more games, they're exposed to the sport. You don't need to
it starts to grow within them. But they're competitive in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And they're like, you see, I tell our kids, we're gonna bury you. We're gonna bury teams, and I tell them that.
Yeah.
And
that's human instinct, right?
Yeah, but I think sometimes I'm using this more because I think there's a lot of coaches out there, Carlos, that can learn from Blueprint, and that they want to coach their kids, and it'd be nice for them to understand. You know what? I can actually have a healthy environment. I can actually speak to our kids with in a positive way.
Positivity, kindness, love,
and the flip side be like, oh my God, my kids are going to be that much more competitive. My kids are going to want to play the game because they love the game.
Correct. And then like I said,
and they're athletes and they're fighters.
Yeah, and the beauty of having been there before is like, you know what works and what doesn't work. What's like a patch versus what's real development. You know what I mean? So like everything has opportunity cost, right? Like we get X amount of time to spend with the kids, right? And we have literally broken it into a third mental, a third body, as in your body and the physical, and a third baseball. So like we've taken away baseball time to work on breathing through running. And I think that's extremely powerful. And I think these are things that pay dividends long run, not short, not upfront. They're not because we're giving up, and I say this like kids catch hundreds of ground balls, but we take away certain time to work on the body. Let's work on the body. Let's work on the mind. Let's get uncomfortable. But I'm going to guide you there. I'm going to show you it's okay to be uncomfortable. I'm going to show you being uncomfortable is good for you.
And I'm glad that I'm glad that you use the word uncomfortable because I think that these kids, the quicker they can, the quicker that they are okay with not being okay and uncomfortable, it's a huge advantage. And look, it's human nature to run from pain.
Correct.
It's natural.
And we're doing the opposite.
And we're saying no. We're running towards it.
Run towards it. Run like
in a healthy way.
Empower yourself, man. Empower yourself. Go right at it. One day you're gonna get a coach that's gonna come try to break you through pain, through running. And I think these guys they have good intentions. It all starts with good intentions. I just don't think it's you're not creating an environment for the result you really want. So we're trying to get ahead of that stuff with them now so that they can navigate that and get past that and get through it and see right through it. Because sometimes when you're in it, you don't see it. But Fernie, we got 7-year-olds running 2.5, 3-mile runs. You tell me you go look at these kids, like when you were that age, you would do that? No, I'm not here for that. I'm here to play baseball. No.
And they're having fun doing it.
They're having fun and they understand. They understand the power of it's good for me to be uncomfortable. It's good for me to be in pain because my guys, meaning, my dad, my mom, my coaches, my team, they're with me. They're with me through it. So I think, we're hitting that fear thing head on. We're hitting that fear thing head on, and it's extremely empowering.
Well, I as we start to wrap this up, I can say that you're doing an amazing job. I'm all in. A lot of our parents, our kids are all in, and the fact that they're having a blast, they're having fun. God only knows what that. I think they have an amazing future. I'm fired up to see what that looks like for them. But what you're doing is, in my opinion, it's God sent. It's so much more than baseball, Carlos. And I know that we can talk about baseball and breathing.
Man, we can do this.
I just want to say that you're doing an amazing job, and from the outside looking in, you're serving a huge purpose to these kids, and so much that is still to be seen. It excites me. But what advice do you have? One thing, if there's one thing that's in your heart that you could tell a dad or a mom, a single mom who's going through this process with their child on the baseball field, if there's one thing that you could tell them, what would that be, man?
Man, it would be find peace and find happiness. Find those two things. And those things don't exist in result. Those things exist in process and in love. Hold their hand, walk them through it, be their best, be their ally.
I'll take it as far as to tell you, it starts in the car on the way to practice. You know what? There's times I hold Sean's hand when I'm driving with him, and this makes me a little bit emotional, but anytime I see, and this is me being the selfish dad now, every time I see my little son with a baseball uniform, I tend to hold his hand when I'm driving here, and I'm like, Bobby, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna work on your hitting, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And the one thing that comes to my mind is his hands are small. And I'm like, man, one day those hands are only gonna get bigger. And I'm not gonna be able to do that. And I think that drive here is as important.
That's it, that's everything.
Than it is once I get in these cages.
This is gonna go. This
Sorry that I get emotional, man.
This is gonna go quick.
I just think it starts there.
No, it's gonna go by quick, man. And you gotta walk away from it and say, I enjoyed every minute. It was happiness based. It was process based.
Good memories, man.
And just keep it genuine, keep it pure. Open every door, and let them do what they're gonna do with it. Let everything else go.
Well, dude, you're a blessing to these kids. What you're doing is phenomenal. If you're a Little League coach, if you're coaching a travel team, if you're involved in baseball, we're not doing it. He's not doing it perfect. We're constantly always making. Anytime that Carlos is out there, he's evolving. But the one thing that this guy is doing that should be implemented all across the country in Little League Baseball is, man, he is keeping this thing fun. And there are way too many kids who quit this sport because the pressure, the amounts of pressure, of artificial pressure that they feel from parents, from coaches, is a turnoff to these kids. And it's why you're seeing these kids, and I'm not saying this is bad or good, but it's why you're seeing the obsession of kids wanting to play on their iPads and video games, and those are all great too. We did it as well, but they're running towards that, and the root is they're running towards that because they don't have anybody there who's making them feel as if they're not good enough. They're kind of trying to control their own destiny, and I also don't think that's healthy long term. I think that as parents and as fathers and as parents overall, as moms, we brought these kids into this world, and it is our job, and we're not perfect, but it is our job to make this experience for them the healthiest that we can. And from a baseball perspective, from a life perspective, what Carlos has developed, a blueprint, is a model for what I think Little League Baseball should look like. So I encourage you guys to really listen to this podcast, because his knowledge and his patience for children is special. And anytime I talk to Carlos and I mention something about hitting, he's looking at it from a whole different angle. So I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing an amazing job, and I'm blessed to have you as a friend, dude, as my accountant, and to have Sean and
the bigger picture.
To just be a part of this Blueprint family and have this support system that's just, again, it's not perfect, but it's very healthy.
Good community, good peeps, good environment, good culture.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you.